How you doing? I'm Darren with Kickin Barbecue. If this is your first time to the channel, then welcome. If you've been here before, then welcome back. Today, we're talking rib tips. Now, if you don't know what a rib tip is, essentially this is just the top piece off of a spare rib that you'd cut down when you're cutting your ribs down to St. Louis cut ribs. And I have a video on how to trim up spare ribs down to St. Louis cut ribs, and I'll link that up top or down in the description below. But what you're left with is this slab of meat here, and you can see it's very well marbled. There is some cartilage in here, but there's a lot of good meat and a lot of good fat in here, so it's very flavorful. And a lot of people just throw this in the garbage, which is an absolute shame, because you can cook these up and have a little snack while you're waiting for your ribs to get done, or you can just make a meal of these yourself. So we're gonna go ahead and cook these up today, and I may not be doing it how it's typically done. I may do it a little bit different, but I'm kind of pressed for time today. So usually I would cook these up whole and then trim them down or cut them up afterwards. But today, since we're in a little bit of a hurry, I'm gonna trim all these up into chunks, season them up, and get them out on the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600. So let's bring you in and show you exactly how we're gonna prep these rib tips. All right, guys, you can see I have all my rib tips here. This is from about 8 racks of ribs that I'll be cooking this weekend for a party. So obviously I bought spare ribs because they are actually cheaper per pound to buy, because you're not paying someone to trim them up for you, and I can kind of get the rib that I'm looking for with these. So you can see they're a little bit gnarly looking in some spots. You can go ahead and trim them up if you want. There's really not much that you have to do to them, so we're not going to do a ton to these because they're still going to cook up good. They're going to be delicious, but all we're going to really do is just kind of chunk these up, and we're going to try and keep them about the same size so they all cook evenly. But I'm basically just going to go through and kind of trim these up. You can see there is cartilage in there, but there's a lot of good meat that you can eat around. There's a lot of fat, so that's going to be some flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of trim these up. Like I said, there's a lot of good meat in there, so if you've been just throwing these away, I highly suggest saving them. So I'm going to get the rest of these trimmed up, and then I will bring you back. Okay, now that we have all of our rib tips chunked up, we're going to go ahead and get them seasoned up, and we're just going to be sticking with a few classics here today. Obviously, I'm going to be going with my Tailgaters Barbecue Party Rub, my absolute go-to for everything. And then we're going to hit them with a little bit of Killer Hogs Hot BBQ Rub, just because we're going to be using a sweeter barbecue sauce, so we're going to get that nice balance of sweet and spicy going. Obviously, these aren't going to be knock your socks off, but they're going to be delicious. So kind of running it like a rib cook. So let's just go ahead and get our coat of our all-purpose rub on here, or what I call my all-purpose rub, because I use it on everything. It's absolutely delicious. And we'll just kind of go ahead and toss them around. We just want to make sure we get everything evenly coated up here. Go through and hit it again. Give it a little toss. And these don't have to be pretty, they just have to be good. So don't worry about making them look beautiful. I think they're going to look beautiful when we're done, but just go ahead and get these seasoned up. All right, now that we have our base layer of our AP on, we're going to come through with the Killer Hogs Hot. And this is going to give it just a little bit of kick, but it's also going to give us some really great color on here. And those of you who've used this know what kind of color it gives. It's not super salty, so we don't have to worry about overdoing it on the salt on these. Go ahead and get that mixed up and incorporated. All right, and you can see we have all the rib tips seasoned up. Now I'm going to let these sit here and sweat a little bit while I go outside and get the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600 fire up. So we will meet you out at the cooker. All right, so you can see we have our rib tips on the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600. They're looking absolutely delicious. Now you can see that I have a water pan down here. That's not to keep moisture in there. That's just because that's where my hot spot is on the cooker. It's from here over to here. This side runs a little bit hotter, obviously, because that's where my stack is. So that's just to keep these ones from getting too charred up, since it is hotter there. We're about on temp at 300 over here, but it is a little bit warm over here. So we'll probably be rotating these, but I'm just gonna let these smoke for about an hour, and then we'll come out and check on them, see if they need to be spritzed, see how they're looking. So we'll be back in an hour. All right, so it has been 1 hour. You can see that our rib tips are looking absolutely delicious. I did go ahead and move the ones that were on the right side over to the left just because they were getting a little darker, a little quicker, and we obviously want to have some even cooking here. So at this point, I'm just going to come in with a little bit of water, just water in this bottle, and just give these a nice spritz, get them moistened back up. Like that. We'll get them in there, close them down, and we'll check them again in 1 more hour. All right, so it has been 1 hour and 45 minutes, and these rib tips have the color that I'm looking for. So at this point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and just get them in a foil pan that I have here. All right, and you can see I'm in a foil pan, and we're just gonna take our sweet sauce, and we're just gonna go ahead and make sure we cover all of these rib tips. All right, we'll just get these all tossed up, nice and incorporated. You can see we're looking really saucy here. That looks absolutely delicious. So then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and get these back on the grates here. All right, and you can see we have them all on the rack. We're gonna let these go for about another half hour, like I said, and then we'll come out and check on them, and I'm sure it'll be about time to eat. So we'll see you guys in 30 minutes. All right, so it has been 30 minutes. Check on these rib tips. You can see they have tremendous color. They look great. They smell wonderful. Go ahead and check that out. They colored up nicely, nice and juicy. I mean, look at that juice in there. These are gonna be absolutely delicious. You can tell they're tender. So I'm gonna get these off, get them inside the house, get them on the board, let them cool for a little bit, and then we'll hit you with the taste test. So we'll see you guys in a little while. All right, guys, you can see we have our rib tips here. They're looking absolutely delicious. We let them cool down a little bit just so we can go ahead and enjoy these. Before I jump in and do a taste test, let's just go over what we did. We went ahead and seasoned these up with party rubs and Killer Hogs Hot. We got them on the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600 at 300 degrees for about 1 hour and 45 minutes. We went ahead and sauced them up, and then we let the sauce set for about a half hour. So pretty quick cook. They look good. They smell wonderful. All that's left to do is try them. They're still piping hot, but great color on this. It's nice and sticky, exactly what you want in a rib tip. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a try now. Man, that is absolutely delicious. It's sticky, it's savory, it's sweet, it's smoky, it's tender. Everything I'm looking for when I cook pork. If you haven't given rib tips a try, I highly recommend it. It's a nice way to go ahead and cook up a rack of ribs and then have another meal with the rib tips, or a nice snack while you're waiting for your ribs to get done. 4th of July is coming up this weekend, so if you're cooking spare ribs and you have the trimmings, don't throw them away. Save them, cook these up, have them as an appetizer. They're going to be absolutely delicious. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell, stay safe, and we will see you next time.